Yo ho, it's a pirate's life for Ryan Donahue and I today, and I hope that was cringeworthy enough that you haven't completely clicked off of this video yet. But Ryan and I today are going to be covering the Pirates 2022 offseason as well as previewing their 2023 season. And Ryan, I'm going to leave that to you as I cringe here in silence.
Yeah, I mean, I was cringing too, so don't worry, you're not alone. But they had Andrew McCutchen was the big one. Maybe not like a big name anymore, but it's nice to see him back with the Pirates, kind of where he seems to belong, I guess you can kind of say. They had Carlos Santana, G-Man Choi as well. Austin Hedges, Cotter Joe, the 58-year-old Rich Hill, it seems like, Vince Velasquez, Harleen Garcia, and then they lose Roberto Perez and Yoshi Tsutsugo. So add in some names there, and you don't really lose much. Jack, which one do you like or dislike out of those two names the most?
I'm going to go my man, G-Man Choi, because I think he's really a good addition for this Pirates squad. He's an upwards of 115 WRC plus player every year. He's coming from that Rays organization that is constantly taken from the Pirates when you look at guys like Tyler Glasnow and previously Austin Meadows and Shane Baz. But this time it's the Pirates who are taken and they're stealing some of the treasure from the Rays, and they're going with G-Man Choi. I think he slots in perfectly at first base. I'm a big fan of the addition of G-Man Choi, and for the Pirates, who for the past couple of years they haven't been super fun to talk about, I think G-Man Choi is one of those players where people like to like G-Man Choi, and I think he's a better baseball player on the field than people give him credit for. I think he fits in well with this Pirates team.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you there, but I went with Andrew McCutchen. It's the emotional aspect of it, of him coming back to Pittsburgh, and he's also a good mentor to younger players. I mean, it's a guy who's won an MVP in Pittsburgh nonetheless. So you're adding that, and he's still showing some solid production, even towards the back half of his career now. So he's a guy that's going to be great for the clubhouse, great for the fans, great for the team in general, their development. They've got a lot of young talent as well. So I think with that, and you add a guy who isn't a slouch still on the field, he can still perform. I think that's going to be big for the Pirates, and it's not going to be like some crazy. He's not going to be an MVP. He's not going to. I don't think he probably won't be an All-Star. Although, yeah, no, he's not going to be an All-Star. It's good for the team. It's maybe not as big on the field production as G-Man, but I think McCutchen is going to mean a lot to this team in multiple aspects.
When I was sitting down for my grade, I do compare with other teams, and I gave the Brewers a B- to a C+ range, and I think the Pirates are a step back, but I still surprisingly like this offseason. When you compare it to even teams in the division like the Reds, it's much better than that. I went with a C for the Pirates because I do like some of the moves, and for a team that's not in contention, this is what I want the offseason to look like, so I'm going with a C.
I actually did a B- here, and C+, B-, I end up going low B-. I think it's pretty good. And am I crazy to say I kind of like what the Pirates look like on paper this season? And don't take that out of context.
Well, I mean, I said the same thing for the Royals. So I mean, if the Pirates are your team this year, I don't blame you for that. I think they're similarly built.
I think they're going to take a bigger step forward. And I'm not saying I like them in terms of being a playoff team. So that's what I mean, like, don't take that out of context. I just kind of like their pieces and like where they're headed, and kind of they've got a good mix of young talent who is kind of maybe a year or two away and kind of a star in Brian Reynolds, and then also some veterans like Andrew McCutchen. I guess G-Man Choi is like a veteran now and a solid production player as well. So I kind of like where they're at, and I think it's a pretty good offseason. Low B-.
Yeah, I'm not as high on the Pirates this year. I think I've picked some of my more breakout teams. The Pirates aren't one of them, but I did have them improving, and you'll see that reflected in my record predictions when we do them early next week. But if I were to say what to expect, I definitely see big improvements for some of their young players. Like you have O'Neal Cruz, you have Ke'Bryan Hayes, you have Rowanzi Contreras, and even Mitch Keller, who just found out he was going to be the opening day starter, and that's a cool story. I like some of these younger guys for the Pirates, and maybe I don't love the way the rest of the roster is built as much as I do for, say, a team like the Royals, who I'm in on this year, or maybe the Orioles, who broke out last year. I do like the young I guess, core that the Pirates are building, starting with O'Neal Cruz, Ke'Bryan Hayes on the left side of that infield. And they've got other guys. Jack Sawinski was pretty good last year as a rookie. Rodolfo Castro showed some promise. So I like that the way the Pirates are building their roster, and I definitely expect improvement and some great play from their young players.
I agree. I'm expecting an improvement there in terms of record and in terms of just overall play on the field. And like I said, I kind of like where they're at. I think they're still a team that's going to finish fourth in the division, right towards the bottom, but it's going to be a good step forward, and I like where they're at as a whole. And like you said, O'Neal Cruz, Ke'Bryan Hayes is a guy who I've been on for a long time now, so hopefully he finally breaks out offensively, because he's one of, if not the best defender in all of baseball, even though he didn't win the Gold Glove over Arenado last year. I think if you look at the numbers, Ke'Bryan Hayes might have been like a touch better. So maybe the little bias with Arenado, and Arenado I think he's 10 Gold Gloves to start his career, which is tied for the most ever with Ichiro. He's looking for that 11th to break the record, and I think if someone's going to break his record, it's Ke'Bryan Hayes. So I still believe in his offensive upside, and obviously we talk about O'Neal Cruz so much of what the tools he has and how he can be good. And Brian Reynolds, who's kind of their star, I like him as well. That's kind of I'm expecting fourth in division, but a lot of great pieces here. And my bold prediction is that they have 3 All-Stars on this team, 3 plus even. I think Bednar and Reynolds are probably going to be All-Stars, and almost no matter what. So maybe it's not even that bold to I think one of O'Neal Cruz or Ke'Bryan Hayes could end up being that 3rd All-Star, and maybe even 4th. Both of them break out. So I think they're going to get 3 All-Star nominations.
Yeah, I think it might end up being hard for Hayes to make the All-Star team, no matter how good he is. You just look at the third baseman in the National League, and you're running up against, some could argue maybe the 3 best in Manny Machado, Nolan Arenado, and Austin Riley. I think you throw in some AL guys there, like a Rafael Devers, Jose Ramirez, but the National League third basemen are pretty insane. But a guy like O'Neal Cruz, I could see making it. Maybe you've got a guy like Mitch Keller who has a really good first half, and he could make the team. So I don't hate that one at all. I would say I would... If you were to go over under 2.5 and I were to lay some real money on it, I'd probably go the under. I think you could see 2, whether that is, one of Bednar and Reynolds and someone else, or, both Bednar and Reynolds making the team. I'd go the under on 2.5, but I do like it, and it is bold, and that's what we're looking for. I said a lot of positive things about the Pirates, and I think I'm going to tone things down a bit for my bold prediction. There have been a lot of rumors over the past couple seasons about Brian Reynolds potentially being a trade piece for Pittsburgh. We mentioned it in the Brewers episode, where you think Corbin Burns eventually, teams are going to be calling, and it's going to be too hard for the Brewers to say no. I think it's going to be the same for Brian Reynolds and the Pirates this trade deadline. You're going to have teams that need left fielders or center fielders, like the Yankees, who we've talked about. Maybe, it's a team like the Mets who didn't end up adding Correa. Maybe it's a team like the Dodgers who are looking to add in the outfield after losing Bellinger. I think that it's going to be a little bit too much for the Pirates to continue saying no. And, maybe it's the best thing for their rebuild. But I think Brian Reynolds will be traded at the trade deadline. That's at least my bold prediction. It's been rumored for a couple of years now, and I think this is the year that they finally succumb to all the calls that I'm sure they're going to be getting all deadline long.
I think for him, we're either going to see a big extension or a trade. I think if there's not an extension by the trade deadline, I think you're right there, but they've expressed that they want to keep him. Brian Reynolds is, he's sort of shown that he wants to stay at the right price. Essentially, is basically what he's saying, that there have been negotiations, and they're just far off there. That's why Reynolds requested a trade. So I think we're either going to see them kind of get on the same page there, sign an extension, or maybe they just don't want to keep the guy at too big of a price tag, so maybe they do trade him for some prospects. But that's another guy who can get a big return, who could be one of the bigger trades at this deadline. So I hope it doesn't happen for the Pirates. If it's to the Dodgers, I hope it does happen. Sorry, Pirates fans. I care about seeing good players in the Dodgers more I care about seeing good players in the Pirates. So, but I think that's something that could happen. But for the Pirates, I hope it doesn't.
I think the Yankees are going to be the name that's thrown around the most. You'll have the Dodgers because they're in every race. I think the Mets will insert themselves, as I said in our Mets season preview. This random thought that I just got, and Pirates fans should close their ears, but I think a team that could be a sneaky, awesome fit for Brian Reynolds is the Houston Astros. And I know that they go about their ways and they love having a guy like Chas McCormick out in center field, but Brian Reynolds in that offense would be pretty insane. And we'll see how much they would eventually have to give up, but they're a team that doesn't make a ton of moves, but I could see them doing it. And it's just a random fit that popped into my head that I think could push them over the top, especially if they're there to, not to say any bad words or anything, but block the Yankees from getting Brian Reynolds. That could be an interesting move that I think would be pretty entertaining to see happen at the deadline.
I sure hope that doesn't happen. But Pirates fans, let us know. Is Brian Reynolds sticking around? Do you want to overpay or not overpay? Sorry, that was pay more than what the Pirates are willing to pay, kind of to lock up the guy, but maybe that means you can't sign some players in the future. You want to save and maybe sign a O'Neal Cruz to a massive extension. Let us know what you want to see down below. Let us know what you think about this 2023 season. What's coming? What did you think about the offseason as well? I know we're kind of past that point in the offseason, kind of focus on 2023. But make sure you like this video and subscribe. See where we have them finishing in our record predictions. See how big of an improvement we both have them at coming next Tuesday. So make sure you stick around. Make sure you subscribe. But till then, we've been Double Play. We'll see you guys next time.